Lixara stared at the screen in front of her, her three-fingered hands trembling slightly. The numbers didn't lie. Something terrible was forming in the empty space near the human colony world. She ran the calculations again, hoping she had made a mistake. The result came back the same. A dimensional rift was opening. She sat in the Valoran Deep Space Observatory, surrounded by machines that could detect things most species couldn't even imagine. For 20 years, she had studied the fabric of space itself, looking for tears and weak points. She had found small ones before, but nothing like this. This rift would grow. In 8 months, maybe 9, it would be large enough to swallow entire star systems. The worst part was its location. It was forming near New Jeju, a human colony world. Humans were new to space travel. They had only left their home planet 30 years ago. The Valerons had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Most species in the galaxy considered humans primitive, barely worth noticing. Lixara didn't think that way. She had studied humans from a distance, reading their broadcasts and scientific papers. They were different from other species. They asked strange questions and thought in unusual ways. But the Valeron Council didn't care about that. To them, humans were just another young species that would either survive or fail on their own. She pulled up images of New Jeju on her screen. The planet looked beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. 50,000 humans lived there, building cities and farms, completely unaware of the death that was slowly forming in the space near their world. Their technology couldn't detect the rift yet. By the time they saw it, it would be too late. Lixara saved all her data onto a small crystal device. She had to show this to the Science Council. They would understand. They had to understand. 3 days later, she stood in the council chamber, her presentation floating in the air as holographic images. 12 senior Valeron scientists watched her with expressions that ranged from bored to mildly interested. She explained the rift, showing them the quantum fluctuations and dimensional stress points. She showed them projections of what would happen if the rift continued to grow. This rift will consume the New Jeju system first, she said, pointing to the timeline. Then it will spread. Within 2 years, it could threaten 20 inhabited systems. Within 5 years, perhaps 50. One of the council members, an old male named Corvan, waved his hand dismissively. Your projections are based on worst-case scenarios. Rifts this size usually stabilize or collapse on their own. Usually, yes, Lixara said, trying to keep her voice calm. But the readings show this one is different. The dimensional walls are thinning faster than normal. We need to act now, while we still can. Another council member, a female named Yessa, leaned forward. And what do you propose we do? The rift is in human space. You know our laws. We don't interfere with developing civilizations. But if we don't help them, they'll die, Lixara said, her voice rising despite her efforts to stay professional. All 50,000 of them, and countless more as the rift spreads. Corvin made a sound that was the Valeron equivalent of a sigh. We will monitor the situation. If the rift becomes a threat to more advanced species, we will reconsider. But we will not violate our most sacred law for a species that barely understands quantum mechanics. Lixara felt something cold settle in her chest. You're going to let them die because they're not advanced enough? Doesn't that seem wrong to you? What seems wrong? Yessa said sharply. Is one junior scientist questioning the wisdom of this council? Your findings are noted. We will observe the rift. That is our decision. The meeting ended. Lixara walked out of the chamber feeling numb. She returned to her lab, where her research partner Thrin was waiting. Thrin was younger than her, with bright purple markings on his face that showed his anxiety. They said no, didn't they? Thrin asked. Lixara nodded. She sat down heavily in her chair and stared at the screen showing New Jeju. Somewhere down there, humans were living their lives, working, loving, dreaming, completely unaware that their government had just been given a death sentence by aliens they didn't even know existed. What are you going to do? Thrin asked quietly. Lixara was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her career, her reputation, everything she had worked for. Then she thought about 50,000 people who would die because the rules said they weren't important enough to save. "I'm going to warn them," she said. Thrin's eyes widened. "Lixara, you can't. That's a direct violation of the non-interference protocol. They'll strip you of your position. They might even exile you." "I know. Then why?" "Because it's right," Lixara said, turning to face her friend. "Because I can't sit here and watch people die when I have the knowledge to save them." "Can you?" Thrin looked down at his hands. "No," he admitted. "But I also can't throw away everything I've worked for." "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Lixara said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "I'm not asking you to come with me. But I need you to do something for me." "What?" "Don't report me for at least 3 days. Give me time to reach New Jeju before they send ships to stop me." Thrin was quiet for a long time. Finally, he nodded. 3 days. "But Lixara, please be careful. Humans can be unpredictable." That night, Lixara packed her research data and personal belongings into a small bag. She went to the spacecraft hangar, where the observation team kept their scout ships. These vessels were small, designed for 1 or 2 people. But they were fast and had powerful sensors. She chose the smallest one, a ship called the Seeker. She loaded her data into its computer and programmed a course for New Jeju. The ship's AI asked her to confirm the destination, warning her that she was entering restricted space. "Confirm," Lixara said. The ship's engines powered up. Lixara took one last look at the observatory, the place where she had spent most of her adult life. She might never be allowed to return. She might never work in science again. But at least she would be able to look at herself in the mirror. The Seeker lifted off the hangar floor and shot into space. Behind her, the observatory grew smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. Ahead of her lay New Jeju, a world full of people who didn't know they needed saving. Lixara hoped they would listen to her. She hoped they would believe her. She hoped it wasn't already too late. The journey would take 2 weeks. She spent the time preparing her presentation, translating her findings into human languages, and wondering if she was making the biggest mistake of her life or the first truly important decision she had ever made. She suspected it was both. The alarm started screaming the moment Lixara's ship entered New Jeju's space. She had expected that. Humans were cautious, especially about unknown vessels appearing near their colonies. She broadcast a message on all frequencies, repeating it in every human language her computer knew. "I come in peace. I have urgent information about a threat to your colony. Please, I need to speak with your scientific leadership." Within minutes, 3 human military ships surrounded her. They were small compared to Valeron vessels, but their weapons were active and tracking her ship. A voice came through her communication system, speaking in the human language called Korean. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Ji Woo Park, of the New Jeju Defense Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." "I don't have weapons," Lixara said, her translator converting her words into Korean. "I'm a scientist, not a soldier. Please, you need to hear what I have to say." There was a long pause. Then Captain Ji-woo spoke again. "Follow our lead ship to the orbital station. Any deviation from the flight path and we will fire. Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand." The human ships guided her to a large space station orbiting New Jeju. Lixara docked her ship and waited. Armed human soldiers came aboard first, checking her vessel for weapons or threats. When they found none, they escorted her off the ship. Lixara got her first real look at humans. They were shorter than Valerans, with only 2 eyes instead of 3, and their skin came in various shades of brown and pink. They looked fragile, but the way they moved suggested they were stronger than they appeared. The soldiers watched her carefully, their weapons ready but not pointed at her. Captain Ji-woo was waiting in the docking bay. He was a tall human with short black hair and sharp eyes that studied Lixara carefully. "I'm Captain Park," he said. "You claim to have urgent information?" "Yes," Lixara said. "A dimensional rift is forming near your colony. If nothing is done, it will destroy your world and many others." Ji Woo's expression didn't change, but Lixara saw his hand tighten on his weapon. That's quite a claim. Why should we believe you? Because I'm risking everything to be here, Lixara said. I violated my people's laws to warn you. I have data. Proof. Please. Let me show your scientists. Ji Woo studied her for a moment longer. Then nodded. You'll be escorted to the governor's office. He'll decide what to do with you. Governor Taeyang Choi was a middle-aged human with gray hair and tired eyes. He sat behind a desk in an office overlooking the colony's main city. Captain Ji Woo stood nearby, and several other humans filled the room. One of them was introduced as Dr. Hyun-Woo Kim, the colony's lead astrophysicist. Lixara presented her findings, projecting her data into the air using a portable device she had brought. She showed them the quantum fluctuations, the dimensional stress points, the projected growth of the rift. She explained what would happen as the rift expanded, how it would tear through normal space like a hole in fabric. The humans listened in silence. When she finished, Governor Taeyang leaned back in his chair. This is hard to believe, he said. How do we know this isn't some kind of trick? Why would I trick you? Lixara asked. What would I gain? I don't know, the governor said. That's what worries me. Dr. Hyun-Woo stepped forward. He had been studying Lixara's data on a tablet device. Governor, if I may? He turned to Lixara. These readings. You're measuring dimensional vibrations across 17 different frequency bands. We don't have the technology to fake data like this. You understand the readings? Lixara asked, surprised. Most species needed years of study to comprehend dimensional physics. Not completely, Dr. Hyun-Woo admitted. But I understand enough to know this is real science, not fiction. He turned to the governor. Sir, our upgraded sensor array should be able to detect basic dimensional anomalies. If her data is accurate, we should see something at these coordinates. A security officer named Sung Min Baek spoke up. And if we see nothing, then we know she's lying. Then you'll know, Lixara agreed. But you won't see nothing. I wish you would, but you won't. Governor Taeyang looked at Dr. Hyun-Woo. How long to check? A few hours to recalibrate the sensors and run a deep scan. Do it. They put Lixara in a secure room to wait. It wasn't a prison cell, but guards stood outside. She sat on a human-style chair that wasn't quite the right shape for her body and tried not to think about what would happen if the humans didn't believe her even after seeing the proof. 4 hours later, Dr. Hyun-Woo came to get her. His face was pale. We found it, he said quietly. Exactly where you said it would be. It's faint, but it's there. Relief flooded through Lixara. Then you believe me? I believe the data, Dr. Hyun-Woo said. Come on, the governor wants to talk again. The mood in the governor's office had changed. Everyone looked serious and worried. Governor Taeyang gestured for Lixara to sit. We confirmed your findings, he said. Now tell us what we can do about it. I don't know yet, Lixara admitted. My people have technology that might help. But they refused to intervene. I came here hoping that together, we might find a solution. Together? Captain Ji Woo said. You said yourself, we're primitive compared to your people. Primitive in technology, yes, Lixara said. But I've studied humans. You think differently than other species. You see patterns others miss. You solve problems in unusual ways. Maybe that's what we need. An engineer named Nari-O spoke up from the back of the room. So, you're saying you don't have a plan? You just showed up hoping we'd figure something out? I showed up because watching your world die from a distance was not something I could live with, Lixara said. I have knowledge of dimensional physics that your people don't have yet. You have fresh perspectives and different ways of thinking. Together, we have a better chance than apart. Dr. Hyun-Woo's graduate student, a young woman named Hae-Won Lee, raised her hand timidly. Can I ask a question? When the governor nodded, she turned to Lixara. How much time do we have? 7 to 8 months before the rift becomes visible to most species. Maybe 9 months before it becomes dangerous. After that, the growth will be exponential. And if we do nothing, your colony will be gone within a year. Other systems will follow. The room fell silent. Finally, Governor Taeyang stood up. Then we don't have a choice. We'll form a research team. Dr. Hyun-woo, you'll lead it. Captain Ji-woo, provide whatever support they need. Miss, oh, we'll need equipment and ships. What about her? Sung Min Baek pointed at Lixara. She's an alien who violated her own laws to come here. How do we know we can trust her? Because she came here when she didn't have to, Governor Taeyang said. Because she's risking everything to warn people she's never met. That's enough for me. He turned to Lixara. You'll work with our research team. Share everything you know. In return, we'll give you asylum here for as long as you need it. Lixara felt something tight in her chest loosen. Thank you, she said. I promise, I'll do everything I can to help. Good, the governor said. Because we're going to need it. We're going to send a message to Earth. Let them know what's happening. But even if they send help, it'll take months to arrive. We're on our own for now. That night, Lixara stood in a small apartment the humans had given her, looking out at New Jeju below. The planet's lights sparkled like stars. Somewhere down there, people were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger. But now they had a chance. It wasn't much of a chance, but it was more than they'd had this morning. Lixara touched the window glass, making a promise to herself. She would save this world, she would save these people, or she would die trying. The research station floated in space halfway between New Jeju and the Rift. It was a small facility, hastily built from parts of old mining platforms, but it had enough room for the team and their equipment. Lixara stood in the main laboratory, watching Dr. Hyun-woo and his team set up sensors pointed toward the Rift. 2 months had passed since her arrival. 2 months of working with humans, teaching them dimensional physics, and learning how they thought. It had been strange at first. Humans asked questions that seemed random or pointless, but often those questions led to insights that Lixara had never considered. Dr. Hyun-woo was especially unusual. He grasped concepts that took other species years to understand. When Lixara explained how dimensional walls bent under stress, he nodded and immediately sketched equations that looked remarkably similar to Valeran mathematics. When she described the way the rift was growing, he said it reminded him of water flowing through cracks in ice. It was a simple comparison, but it was exactly right. The readings are stable, said Yuna Shin, the colony's quantum physicist. She was a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. We should be able to get clear data from this distance. Captain Ji-woo was also on the station, having volunteered to pilot the team's ship. He stood near the window, looking toward where the rift was located. Humans couldn't see it with their eyes yet, but the sensors showed it clearly enough. How fast is it growing? Ji-woo asked. Faster than my original projections, Lixara admitted. She pulled up a holographic display showing the rift's expansion over the past 60 days. It's accelerating. Why? Asked Nari. Oh. The engineer had been working on modifying the station's shields to protect them from dimensional fluctuations. What changed? I don't know, Lixara said, frustration creeping into her voice. Nothing in my models predicted this. Dr. Hyun-woo stared at the data, his brow furrowed. It almost looks like it's being pulled open from the other side. Everyone turned to look at him. What do you mean? Lixara asked. I'm not sure, Dr. Hyun-woo said slowly. It's just a feeling. The way it's expanding. It doesn't feel random. It feels deliberate. Feelings aren't science, Yuna said, but her tone was thoughtful rather than dismissive. Maybe they should be. Haiwan Lee said quietly. The young graduate student had been unusually quiet lately. Does anyone else feel strange when they look at where the rift is? There was a moment of silence. Then Captain Ji-woo said, Yes. Like something's wrong. Like the space there is. Sick. Somehow. I feel it too, Nario admitted. It makes my teeth hurt. Lixara looked at the humans in confusion. You can feel the rift? Without instruments? Can't you? Dr. Hyun-woo asked. No. My people need sensors to detect dimensional anomalies. We can't feel them. The humans looked at each other. Maybe it's just our imagination, Yuna said. We know the rift is there, so we think we feel it. Let's test that, Dr. Hyun-woo said. He turned to Captain Ji-woo. Close your eyes. Nari, turn off the displays. Don't tell Ji-woo where the rift is. Ji-woo closed his eyes, while Nari shut down all the screens showing the rift's location. Dr. Hyun-woo slowly turned Ji-woo in different directions. Tell me when you feel that wrongness you mentioned. Ji-woo stood quietly for a moment, then pointed. There. That direction. Nari checked the station's position data. Her eyes widened. He's pointing directly at the rift, exactly at it. They tested everyone. Every human on the station could point toward the rift without seeing it. Some felt it as wrongness, others as a cold spot, or a place where space felt thin. But they all felt something. Lixera ran back to her laboratory and pulled up everything she knew about human evolution. She studied their home planet, Earth, looking at its geological history. Then she found something interesting. Earth had experienced unusual quantum fluctuations millions of years ago, caused by a nearby stellar event. Those fluctuations had lasted for millions of years while humans were evolving. Your people developed on a planet with dimensional instabilities, Lixara explained to the team. Weak ones, harmless, but constant. Your brains adapted to sense them. It probably helped your ancestors avoid dangerous areas, but it means you can feel things my people can't. So humans have a sixth sense for dimensional rifts? Hae-won asked, her eyes wide. It appears so, Lixara said. This is remarkable. I've studied dozens of species, and none of them have this ability. Can we use it? Captain Ji-woo asked. Always practical. Maybe, Dr. Hyun-woo said. He was staring at the rift data again. If we can feel the rift, maybe we can understand it better. Learn how it behaves. Over the next few days, they ran more tests. Captain Ji-woo reported feeling pressure changes seconds before the sensors detected rift fluctuations. Yuna described the rift's behavior in ways that sounded like poetry, but turned out to be mathematically accurate. Nari could predict which ship systems would fail near the rift just by listening to the engines. Even Governor Tae-young, who visited the station to check their progress, could point to the rift's exact location while blindfolded. It feels like standing near a cliff edge, he said. You know the drop is there, even if you can't see it. Lixara was fascinated. She sent her findings to Thrin, her old research partner, through a secret communication channel. His response came back 3 days later. The council has finally noticed the rift, Thrin's message said. They're taking it seriously now. But they're still refusing to help humanity. They say humans are too primitive to work with, that giving them advanced technology would violate our laws. Lixara, there's something else. The rift is showing strange patterns. We think something on the other side might be trying to widen it. Be careful. The message chilled Lixara. She called the team together and showed them Thrin's warning. We need to understand what's on the other side of that rift, she said. Can we see through it? Dr. Hyun-woo asked. Not with normal sensors. But maybe. Lixara pulled up her data on human dimensional sensitivity. Maybe, with human observers, your ability to feel the rift might let you sense what's beyond it. They rigged up a special viewing room with windows facing the rift. The humans took turns sitting in the room, trying to sense what lay beyond the tear in space. Most felt nothing more than the wrongness they already knew. But Hae-won, the youngest and most sensitive, reported something different. It's not empty, she said, her voice shaking. There's something there. Not alive, I don't think. But it's like another universe is trying to push into ours. Like water pressing against a dam. Dr. Hyun-woo sat with her, closing his eyes and focusing. She's right, he said after a long moment. I can feel it too. It's not an intelligence. It's pressure. Reality itself trying to break through. Yuna checked the readings. The rift is growing faster now, much faster. At this rate, it'll reach critical size in 4 months, not 9. Why is it accelerating? Captain Jiwoo demanded. Because it's being fed, Lixara said, understanding dawning on her. The other universe is pushing against ours. Every time it pushes, the rift grows. It's like blowing up a balloon. Eventually, it will pop. And when it pops? Nario asked. Everything in this sector of space will be overwritten by the other dimension, converted to their version of reality. Nothing will survive. The room fell silent. Finally, Governor Taeyang spoke. Can we stop it? I don't know, Lixara said honestly. But we have to try. That night, Lixara stood alone in the viewing room, staring toward the invisible rift. She thought about her people, safe in their advanced cities, refusing to help because humans didn't matter to them. She thought about the Valeron Council's laws about non-interference, laws that seemed wise until they meant letting people die. She thought about the humans she'd worked with over the past 2 months. They were crude in many ways, their technology simple, their understanding of the universe limited. But they tried. They faced impossible problems with determination and creativity. They welcomed an alien who'd shown up uninvited and trusted her when they had no reason to. If the Valerans were so advanced, why did the humans seem more civilized? Behind her, the door opened. Dr. Hyun-woo came in, carrying 2 cups of something hot. Coffee, he said, offering her one. Nari says it'll keep you awake for hours. Lixara accepted the cup. She'd learned to like human beverages. Can't sleep? Too much to think about, Dr. Hyun-woo said. He stood beside her, looking toward the rift. We're not going to give up, you know. Even if the odds are impossible. I know, Lixara said. That's very human of you. Is that a compliment? Yes, Lixara said. Yes, it is. The alarm woke everyone at 3 in the morning, station time. Lixara ran to the laboratory where Dr. Hyun-woo and Yuna were already staring at screens filled with warning messages. The rift had suddenly expanded, growing in seconds what should have taken weeks. It's not stable anymore, Yuna said, her fingers flying across her keyboard. It's opening faster and faster. Can we evacuate? Captain Jiwoo asked, arriving in his flight suit. Not enough time, Nario said, checking the station's systems. We'd be caught in the expansion before we reached safe distance. Then something happened that made everyone fall silent. Through the station's windows, they could see something they couldn't before. The rift was now visible to normal eyes. It looked like a crack in reality itself. A wound in space that leaked strange colors that hurt to look at. And from that wound, something was emerging. What is that? Haewon whispered. It wasn't a creature or a ship. It was a wave of something that looked like crystal, spreading out from the rift in all directions. Where it touched empty space, the space changed. Stars visible through it became distorted, their light bending in impossible ways. It's matter from the other dimension, Lixara said, her voice tight. It's overwriting our reality with theirs. The crystal wave was moving fast. Too fast. How long until it reaches us? Governor Taeyang demanded over the communication channel from New Jeju. Minutes, Yuna said. Maybe less. Evacuate now, the governor ordered. Everyone off that station. On it, Captain Jiwoo said, already moving toward the docking bay. Everyone to the ship. They ran. Lixara grabbed her most important data, while the others snatched equipment and research notes. The station shook as the crystal wave drew closer. Through the windows, Lixara could see it approaching. A wall of wrongness that made her eyes hurt. Nari-O was the last one moving toward the ship when part of the station's wall began to change. The metal twisted and reformed, becoming something crystalline and strange. The transformation was spreading fast, creeping across the floor toward where Nari stood, frozen in shock. Captain Jiwoo ran back, grabbed her arm, and pulled her away just as the crystal reached where she'd been standing. They tumbled into the ship together, and Jiwoo slammed the door controls. The ship's engines roared to life. Go, 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 Dr. Hyun-woo shouted. The ship pulled away from the station just as the crystal wave consumed it. Through the rear windows, they watched the station transform. Its familiar shape twisted into something alien and beautiful and terrifying. Within seconds, it was unrecognizable. Captain Jiwoo flew the ship away from the expanding wave, pushing the engines as hard as they could go. Behind them, the crystal continued to spread. A sphere of transformed space growing from the rift. Finally, they reached safe distance. The ship hung in space while everyone caught their breath. Nario was shaking, staring at her hand. Part of her glove had touched the crystal during their escape. The material had changed, becoming the same strange crystalline substance. "Does it hurt?" Yuna asked. "No," Nari said quietly. "That's what scares me. It doesn't hurt at all." Dr. Hyunwoo carefully cut away the affected part of the glove, while Lixara scanned Nari's hand. "You're not injured," Lixara said with relief. "The crystal didn't reach your skin. What would have happened if it did?" Haewon asked. "I don't know," Lixara admitted. "Probably the same thing that happened to the station. Transformation into the other dimension's version of matter." Back on New Jeju, they set up a temporary laboratory and analyzed the crystal sample from Nari's glove. The results were frightening. The crystal wasn't alive, but it wasn't dead either. It was matter that followed different physical laws. Matter from a universe where the rules were different. "Every species technology that we've tested against it gets converted," Lixara explained to the emergency meeting. Governor Taeyang had assembled every department head and scientist on the colony. Ships, stations, weapons, everything. The crystal spreads on contact, converting normal matter into more of itself. "Can we stop it?" Governor Taeyang asked. "Not with conventional weapons," Lixara said. "They just get transformed too." "What about us?" Captain Jiwoo asked. "What happens if a person touches it?" Lixara hesitated. "We don't know. We can't test it safely." "I touched it," Nario said quietly. "Just for a second. Through my glove. And I felt something strange." Everyone looked at her. "What did you feel?" Dr. Hyunwoo asked. "Like I could push it back," Nari said. "Just for that instant, I felt like the crystal was afraid of me." Yuna leaned forward. "The dimensional sensitivity. Maybe humans can resist the transformation because you can feel the dimensional boundary." "Only one way to test that," Captain Jiwoo said. He stood up. "I'll do it. Touch the crystal deliberately and see what happens." "Absolutely not," Governor Taeyang said firmly. "We're not risking lives on a theory. Sir, with respect, we're all going to die anyway if we don't figure this out," Jiwoo said. "The crystal wave is growing. It'll reach New Jeju in 3 days. We need to know if humans can resist it." The room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Hyunwoo spoke. "There might be another way. We can test it with controlled exposure. Minimal contact. With full medical support, standing by." It took hours to set up the test safely. They put a tiny piece of the crystal in a sealed container. Captain Jiwoo would touch it through a controlled opening while everyone monitored his vital signs. If anything went wrong, they would amputate his arm immediately. Lixara watched the preparations with growing dread. She had come to care about these humans, about their stubborn courage and their strange way of thinking. The thought of watching Jiwoo transform into crystal made her feel sick. But Jiwoo looked calm as he put his hand toward the opening. "If I turn into a crystal statue," he said, "make sure you display me somewhere nice." "Not funny," Nario muttered. Jiwoo's finger touched the crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal began to spread, creeping up his finger. Everyone tensed, ready to activate the emergency amputation system. But then the crystal stopped. It touched Jiwoo's skin and just stopped. It didn't continue spreading. It didn't transform him. "I can feel it trying," Jiwoo said, his voice strained. "It's pushing against me, trying to change me. But I can push back. It's like holding a door closed against wind." How long can you hold it?" Dr. Hyunwoo asked. I don't know. A while, I think. It's not that hard, just uncomfortable. They had Ji-woo pull his hand back. The crystal that had touched his skin fell away, becoming normal matter again. The crystal he'd converted was now just glass, harmless and inert. You changed it back, Lixara said in amazement. You converted the other dimension's matter into ours, so humans can resist the transformation, Governor Taeyang said. That's good news, but it's not enough. We can't touch every piece of crystal before it spreads. No, Dr. Hyunwoo said slowly. But maybe we can collapse the rift. If the rift closes, the crystal stops spreading. Maybe it even disappears. How do we close it? Yuna asked. Lixara pulled up her data. Dimensional rifts can be sealed by creating opposing stress points. It's like pinching a wound closed. But it requires enormous energy and precise positioning, and someone would have to be at the rift's center to place the device. The center is inside that crystal zone, Captain Ji-woo said. Inside the transformed space. Yes, Lixara said quietly. Whoever goes in wouldn't come back out. The room fell silent again. Then, to Lixara's shock, every human in the room stood up. I'll go, Captain Ji-woo said. I'll go, said Yuna. I'll go, said Dr. Hyunwoo. I'll go, said Haewon. I'll go, said Nario. Even Governor Taeyang stood. I'll go. Lixara looked at them all. These short-lived, fragile beings who were volunteering to die to save their world. Her own people, with their thousands of years of life expectancy and advanced civilization, had refused to even help. But humans, who lived barely a century, were ready to give up everything. I'll go too, Lixara said, standing. I'm the one who understands the technology best. I should be the one to activate it. You don't have to do this, Dr. Hyunwoo said gently. This isn't your world. No, Lixara agreed. But you're my friends. And that's enough. Governor Taeyang looked at his people, his colony, his responsibility. We'll need a team, he said finally. Small enough to move fast, large enough to handle problems. 6 people maximum. Ji-woo will pilot. Hyunwoo, Yuna, Nari, and Haewon for technical support, and Lixara for her expertise. He looked at each of them. This is voluntary. No one will think less of you if you refuse. No one refused. The ship they chose was small and fast, built for deep space exploration. Nario had spent 2 days modifying it, combining human engineering with Valeron technology. The result was something neither species had built before. A hybrid vessel that responded to both computer commands and human intuition. It's ready, Nari said, closing the last panel. Or as ready as it's going to be. The team gathered in the ship's small cabin. Captain Ji-woo sat in the pilot's seat, running through pre-flight checks. Dr. Hyunwoo and Lixara reviewed the dimensional collapse device one more time. Yuna monitored the sensors. Haewon checked their navigation systems. Nari made sure all the modifications were holding. Governor Taeyang came to see them off. He looked tired, older than he had a few months ago. The message we sent to Earth finally got a response, he said. They're sending a fleet. Should arrive in 3 weeks. That's good, Doctor, Hyunwoo said, though they all knew 3 weeks was far too late. I told them what you're doing, the governor continued. They said to tell you that humanity is proud of you. That history will remember this. I'd rather be forgotten and alive, Captain Ji-woo said with a slight smile. But I'll take what I can get. The governor looked at Lixara. I never properly thanked you. For warning us. For staying when you could have run. For being willing to die with us. I'm not doing it to be thanked, Lixara said. I'm doing it because it's right. The governor nodded. Then he saluted them all, a human gesture of respect. The team returned the salute, and the governor left the ship. The launch was smooth. Captain Ji-woo guided them away from New Jeju and toward the rift. Through the windows, they could see the crystal zone, a sphere of transformed space that now stretched hundreds of kilometers across. Inside it, Stars looked wrong, space looked sick, and reality itself seemed to be breaking. "We'll reach the boundary in 10 minutes, Jiwoo said. "Everyone ready?" They were as ready as they would ever be. As they approached the crystal zone, the ship began to shake. Alarms sounded, warning them about dimensional stress. Nari's modifications held, but barely. The ship's hull groaned as they crossed the boundary. Inside the crystal zone, everything was different. Space didn't look black anymore. It was a color that hurt to see, a shade that shouldn't exist in their universe. The stars outside were twisted and distorted. The ship's sensors showed readings that made no sense. "I can feel it," Haewon said, her voice tight. "The wrongness. It's everywhere." "Stay focused," Dr. Hyunwoo said, though his own face was pale. "Remember the training. Push back against it. Don't let it overwhelm you." Yuna was calling out navigation data, guiding Jiwoo toward the rift's center. The ship twisted and turned through impossible geometry, following paths that shouldn't exist. Jiwoo flew by instinct more than instruments, feeling his way through the madness. Something touched the ship's hull. Crystal began spreading across the metal, converting it slowly. "We've got transformation starting on the outer hull," Nari reported. "Shields are holding it back, but not for long." "How long until we reach the center?" Lixara asked. 5 minutes, Yuna said. "Maybe less." Those 5 minutes felt like hours. The ship shook and groaned. More crystals spread across the hull. Systems began failing as the transformation reached critical components. But Jiwoo kept flying, kept pushing forward. Then they saw it. The rift itself. A wound in reality that looked like a crack in glass. Through the crack, they could see the other dimension. A place where the laws of physics were different. Where matter and energy existed in forms that made no sense. "That's where we need to be," Lixara said, pointing at the exact center of the rift. Dr. Hyunwoo pulled up the data on his screen. "The dimensional collapse device needs to be activated from inside the rift's event horizon. From there, it can create opposing stress points that will pinch the rift closed. Someone has to stay with the device," Lixara said, "to make sure it activates properly." "Someone?" "2C. We all knew this was a one-way trip," Captain Jiwoo said quietly. But Lixara had a secret. She'd programmed the device to require her biometric signature to activate. Only her handprint, her DNA, could trigger it. She'd done it 3 days ago, and she hadn't told anyone. "I'm sorry," she said now. "But I programmed the device for myself only. I have to be the one who stays." "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." The others stared at her in shock. "You can't," Haewon said. "We were all supposed to die together." "No," Lixara said firmly. "You're humans. Your lives are too short as it is. My people live for thousands of years. If anyone can afford to give up their future, it's me." "That's not fair," Dr. Hyunwoo said. "You came here to save us. You've given up everything already." "And I'd do it again," Lixara said. She looked at each of them. These strange, wonderful beings who had become her friends. "You showed me what courage really means. What sacrifice means. You showed me that being advanced isn't about technology or long lives. It's about caring for others, even when they're different from you." Jiwoo began maneuvering the ship into position. "There has to be another way," he said desperately. "There isn't," Lixara said. "And even if there was, I've made my choice." Yuna was crying silently. Haewon was openly sobbing. Even Nari had tears on her cheeks. Dr. Hyunwoo put his hand on Lixara's shoulder. "Thank you," he said simply. "For everything." The ship reached the center of the rift. Lixara picked up the dimensional collapse device. It was small, no larger than a human's hand, but it contained technology that could tear holes in reality or seal them shut. She was about to put on the protective suit for her exit when Dr. Hyunwoo grabbed her arm. "Wait," he said. His eyes were wide with sudden inspiration. "You said we need to activate it from inside the event horizon. But what if we all stay? What if we use our dimensional sensitivity to help stabilize the collapse. That's suicide, Lixara said. So is what you were planning, Doctor, Hyunwoo said. But together, we might survive. The device needs to create opposing stress points. We can sense dimensional stress. Maybe we can guide the collapse. Make it more stable. That's insane, Yuna said. But she was looking at the data. But it might work. If we form a circuit, human sensitivity combined with Valoran technology, we'd need to be in physical contact, Lixara said, her mind racing through the calculations. The device would use us as conductors for the dimensional energy. Then that's what we do, Captain Jiwoo said. All of us. Together, they formed a circle, holding hands. Lixara was between Dr. Hyunwoo and Haewon. The device sat in the center, programmed and ready. Through the ship's windows, they could see the rift pulsing, growing larger with each second. On my mark, Lixara said. 3, 2, 1. Now, she activated the device. Energy exploded through them. It felt like being torn apart and put back together, like falling and flying at the same time. Lixara could feel the dimensional boundaries, could sense the stress points in reality itself. And through the connection of their joined hands, she could feel the humans sensing it too. Dr. Hyunwoo was guiding the energy flow, his intuition showing the way. Yuna was calculating trajectories in her head, adjusting the collapse pattern. Haewon was sensing weak points and strengthening them. Nari was somehow keeping their physical bodies stable while reality bent around them. Captain Jiwoo was holding them all together with pure, stubborn will. And Lixara provided the technology, the knowledge, the framework that made it all possible. The rift screamed. Reality itself seemed to cry out as the dimensional walls were forced back together. The crystal zone began shrinking. The transformed matter converting back to normal. The crack in space grew smaller and smaller. Then, with a final pulse of energy that knocked them all unconscious, the rift collapsed. When Lixara woke, she was lying on the floor of the ship. The others were around her, groaning and stirring. Through the window, she could see normal space, black and peaceful and right. No crystal, no wrongness, just stars. Did we do it? Haewon asked weakly. Yuna checked her instruments. Her hands were shaking, but she managed to read the screens. The rift is gone, she said. Completely sealed. The dimensional readings are normal. And we're alive, Nario said in wonder. We're actually alive. Captain Jiwoo was already at the controls, running diagnostics. Ship is damaged but functional. I can get us home. Home. Lixara thought about that word. New Jeju wasn't her home. She'd been born on a Valoran colony world, light years away. But looking at her friends, her team, the people who had stood with her against impossible odds, she realized that home wasn't about where you were born. It was about where you belonged. 3 weeks later, Earth's fleet arrived at New Jeju. They found the colony safe, the rift gone, and 6 survivors who had done the impossible. The fleet admiral, a stern woman named Admiral Han, listened to their report with growing amazement. You actually went into the rift, she said, and collapsed it from inside, without knowing if you'd survive. We knew we probably wouldn't, Dr. Hyunwoo said, but it was the only way. Admiral Han looked at Lixara. And you? An alien scientist who violated her people's laws to save humans. Why? Because it was right, Lixara said. Same answer she'd given before. Same answer she'd give again. News of what happened spread across human space and beyond. The Valoran Council, under pressure from other species who learned about their refusal to help, was forced to explain their actions. Their reputation suffered badly. Some council members resigned. Others were removed from power. Thrin sent Lixara a message. The council wants you back. They're calling you a hero now. Can you believe it? They want to give you honors and awards. But I think we both know, that's just them trying to save face. Lixara deleted the message. She had no interest in going back to people who valued pride over lives. Governor Taeyong held a ceremony for the team. He gave them medals and made speeches about courage and sacrifice. But the best part came after, when Lixara was officially granted asylum and honorary human citizenship. "Welcome home," the governor said, shaking her hand. The colony celebrated for days, and in the middle of it all, Lixara stood with her team, her friends, and watched humans dance and sing and live. They were crude sometimes, yes. Their technology was simple. Their lives were short, but they were also brave and kind and stubborn and wonderful. And they had taught Lixara something her advanced civilization had forgotten. That what made someone truly civilized wasn't how long they lived or what technology they had. It was how they treated others when it mattered most. 6 months later, Dr. Hyunwoo and Lixara founded the Human Dimensional Research Institute. Scientists from Earth and even other alien species came to study how humans could sense dimensional anomalies. It turned out humanity's gift was unique in the known galaxy, and it opened up entirely new fields of research. Captain Ji-woo was promoted to admiral and given command of humanity's first deep space exploration fleet. Nari-Oh became the chief engineer for Earth's Dimensional Research Division. Yuna Shin won awards for her work on quantum dimensional mathematics. Haewon Lee completed her doctorate and became one of the youngest professors at Earth's most prestigious university. And Lixara? She stayed on New Jeju, teaching and researching, surrounded by friends and colleagues who never let her forget that she was one of them. Sometimes, she looked up at the stars and thought about her old life, her old people, her old world, but she never regretted her choice. Not once. One evening, as she worked late in her laboratory, Haewon came in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," she said. "Thank you," Lixara said, accepting the cup. She'd gotten quite good at drinking coffee. Haewon looked at the data on Lixara's screen. "New dimensional anomaly?" "Yes," Lixara said. "Small one. Nothing dangerous. But it's interesting. Should we investigate?" Lixara smiled. "Yes. But tomorrow. Tonight. Let's just be grateful we're here to see tomorrow." Haewon raised her coffee cup. "To tomorrow, then." "To tomorrow," Lixara agreed. Outside, the stars shone bright and clear, and somewhere in the galaxy, a small alien scientist who had once broken every rule to do what was right, looked at them and felt, for the first time in her long life, truly at peace.